Okay, so with this, now we will be going into our module 6. That's the last module of the training. All right. So what we have done in so far, module 1, we focused on the importance of spending time in Dawah. What is your objectives and metrics if you get into Dawah? We talked about why should you continue to Dawah once the person has taken a Shahada, and some of the personal risks that a Da'i can face. In module 2, we talked about understanding new Muslims, milestones for a new Muslim, possibilities and success stories, and walking out with a refined perspective of a new Muslim. Module 3, we talked about creating your own team, the culture of the team, best practices, different roles in the convert success team. And module 4 was finding new Muslim, having an introductory meeting, explaining Islam or re-explaining Islam, making sure they understand what Islam is, discussing a plan of development, sharing resources, discussing common obstacles, and agreeing on next steps. Then module 5, we talked about, the passive or proactive customer support versus customer success mentality, structure and content, dealing with the fiqh issues, the halal and the haram, and common pitfalls. And now, final module, we will be talking about some milestones and goals. We talk a bit about atomic habits. We talk about the listening, empathy, and empowerment model to help them overcome their challenges in their personal life at a basic level. And we'll share with you some resources on further learning on personal development. And then we'll take any questions that you may have on the call. Obviously, if you're watching recording, whatnot, you can always reach out with more questions. And as I mentioned earlier, we also have monthly calls. So any active mentor, you can also jump on our monthly calls to get feedback about how you can be a better mentor, share your experiences, share your success stories, share what's working for you, and then we can discuss that as a team of mentors. So in terms of milestones and goals, so remember that when you're working with a new Muslim, so the milestone or the goal is not for them to come to your class or come to your masjid, and so on and so forth. The goal is to keep them engaged and active with the religion. That's the goal. The how is variable. Okay, so what that means is, for example, you want to make sure, first of all, that they have some sort of Islam in their life, meaning that they are subscribed to Instagram feeds or YouTube feeds or social media, or they have downloaded the apps and they are spending time on it, or they are seeing it on their feeds. So that would make sure that they hear about Islam and they are aware of it, right? It just doesn't go in their background. And again, this is not something academic, not something that you have to get them subscribed to my channel or your masjid or this and that, but rather, what do you think is best? So usually things that are best are, basic things, motivational things, inspirational things, because depending on the person, they may not be committed to learning and having deep learning. So you give them some basics that we have already shared with you in the New Muslim Starter Pack. We have recommended a few links that they should consider subscribing to. Second thing you want to take a look at is that, do they have that social support, that company, that friends, and that could be at their school, the college they go to, university they go to, or they could be coming to the masjid, they could be going for some sports or whatever, so that they have some Muslims around them. The other option is maybe they're far from the masjid, maybe they're far from you, maybe you're doing remote. So see how you can subscribe them to their local activities, whether via WhatsApp or Instagram or email list, so that they're aware of what's happening in the city. And it could be something as simple as, for example, in Toronto, there's like Halal Food Festival or Halal Rib Festival, right? Or right now, December, there's a big conference coming up. So it may not be something that you go to, or perhaps you go to, or perhaps you may not fully agree with something, but think of it as a bigger advantage. Is this something good for the new Muslim to spend time on or not? It may not be the best thing in your opinion, but it may be much better than what they would have done otherwise. So keep that in mind. The third thing is probably you want to make sure that they're having some sort of a communication with you. The simplest thing could be like a message exchange, right? What happened this week? How was your goals? How was your prayers? Active thing, not just like, yes, everything is good, alhamdulillah, right? You can ask them to be more specific. So sometimes people say, good, alhamdulillah, good, all is well. Hey, that's great to hear. Thank you for responding. But I was hoping we can get into a bit more detail, right? So you can do that via text, or ideally on a quick call or a group call. And if that's not working, then you can move it to once a month. If the thing weekly is too much, ask them, hey, is it good to do weekly? Can we do every other week? Can we do once a month? So you have some touch base. And then obviously one of the great manifestation of them being unactive is to start with Salah. So some people may start with 5, some may do 3, some may do 4, right? But we need to keep that ball rolling and to keep moving that, right? So don't be shy to have those practical conversations. So social events, again, I talked about it already. So it could be like, as I said, announcement groups, feeds, mailing lists, whatever works. If they have time, another thing that they can do is they can volunteer for different organizations, especially Muslim organizations, at your masjid, at other organizations. So that can keep them involved with the Muslim community. They can find more Muslim friends and so on and so forth. Sports activities, sometimes Muslims may organize some sports activities at the masjid or otherwise. So helping them find those opportunities could be a great idea. Classes and conferences, as I just talked about earlier as well. So that's just, in terms of the goals and how do you get them involved. Before we go into the other module, so let me just stop here.